If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Now that we have our Neovim configuration pretty much set up, and I have shown you pretty much the stuff that I typically use, one of the things that we'll run into is, well, how do we run our servers? For me, when I'm developing in Laravel, I will typically have a PHP server running on one side and a Node server running on the other side. In this sort of a way, how we're doing this now means that we would have to open up another terminal, cd into that folder of our project, and run php artisan serve on one side, and then we'll have to open up another one and do npm run dev or npm run watch, depending on what you're doing, right? And that's a little bit of an inconvenience, plus it uses way more power than it needs to. So what I want to do today is introduce you to something that will keep you from really having to leave your specific project without having to separate it into different instances. The package that we're going to be using to handle this is called Tmux, and Tmux is a very popular package that you can use in Neovim, which basically allows you to set up windows as a sort of tiling manager, but it's within the Neovim configuration instead of it being for your entire system. To give you an example, something like this, I'm in Windows 11, and if you do something like that, you can see that those little layouts are different panels that we can put a browser on one side. You see I have OBS running on one of them. You can set them up into different sorts of layouts, and that's essentially what Tmux is going to allow us to do. So to install it, all we have to do is go to how to install Tmux and just look at the instructions really quick. As you can see, you can install it in different Linux repositories. And because I am using WSL, I'm going to be able to just do apt install Tmux. I'm going to exit out of this since I'm not going to be needing it. And I'm going to cd all the way back and do sudo apt install Tmux and -y to make sure that if it asks us, do you want to continue, it'll just automatically say yes. I already have it installed in this one, but if you didn't, that would have been the command to run it. Now, something that we do need to do is let's make sure that we are in our home folder, which we are. You can see we have some different things in here. We can create a config file for our Tmux. We'll do nvim.tmux.conf or configuration. And as you can see, Mason here is installing a parser for it. So this is going to be pretty much where we do everything within Tmux. Any sort of configuration that we make, we can just do it into this file, and we'll be able to connect it to any other packages that we might need to help this run. So now that we have this, I'm going to save, exit out of that. Right now, I should just be able to do Tmux. And as you can see, it's opened up a whole new pane for us where we have 0. It's the first window in our panel. And then you can see some information over here with the date, time, similar stuff to what's up here that I have with OhmyZSH. So for now, this is what I'm going to have open. And then we're going to try opening up our config again. In order to leverage Tmux, there are certain commands that you need to use in order to sort of call Tmux once you're in it. Because we're in Neovim in this, in fact, let me get out of this. Because we are still in a Tmux instance, whenever we run certain commands, they're not going to run the same as they do with just having our terminal here. Once we're in Tmux, we have our terminal in Tmux. We can do CTRL+V, and as you can see, it's now highlighted this down here and it's made it different for us. But if we weren't to do that, escape out of that. So we're back in our normal Tmux in here. If we do exit, then we can go ahead and exit out of that. But if we have a project running, you don't want to just run Tmux like that. We'll do Tmux again. And then what we want to do is CTRL+V, and then we want to detach whatever that project is. That's how you detach from the session. If we do Tmux ls, you see that we have one server that's still running. And if we wanted to attach to it, in fact, let me clear this out so we can see this better. We'll do Tmux ls. And if we wanted to attach to it, then where this 0 is, in fact, let me change this and add some padding so we can see things a little bit better in here. I think it's default appearance padding. I'm going to add a little bit of padding to that just so that we can see this a bit better. But as you can see, it goes by indexes, and the first index is 0, and we have one Windows server running. In order to get back into that server, we can do tmux attach session t, because it doesn't have a name, it's just 0. We can do 0, and now we're back in that same session. So let's get out of this again, Control-B. And we do tmux ls again. You see we still have that same one. Let's do another one, tmux. Now you can see that that index has now changed. We've created another session for another project, and that's why it's at index 1 instead of index 0, because we have a new one. So let's detach again. And then we'll do tmux ls again. And as you can see, now we have two different sessions open. One that's set at 0 and one that's set at 1. Now, if you want to get rid of one, what you can do is do tmux kill session, and I'll just take the first one and then I'll kill it. That gives you a broad idea of kind of what we can do. So let's get into configuring this a bit. Go into the first one, and here I want to do nvim tmux conf. And the first thing I want to do is I want to change the key binding, because Control-B, they're just so far apart, it makes it really uncomfortable to try to initiate anything in Tmux. So I want to change that. In this file here, the first thing that I want to do is go into insert mode, and then I want to do set G for global prefix, and then I want to change it from CB as in boy, CA. My fingers will be closer to be able to navigate through this a bit better. For that, we need to unbind CB, which is the initial one that we have. That's the one that we're trying to change out of. And we want to change it to CA. And then we can do bind key CA as send prefix. So again, it's just the prefix to doing anything within Neovim. I'm going to escape. I'll do WA so we can save it. Now that we have this saved, we need to source it. I'm going to exit out of this. We are still within tmux, but now we can do tmux source, tmux conf. That should be sourced. So let's go into Neovim or neo nvim tmux config. In order to detach, let's try to detach using our new prefix. We'll do Control-A, colon, see, now it's working. We've just sourced the file, we're able to exit out of it, and we're brought back to our normal, regular terminal. So let's do a bit more. One of the things that we can do is also bring in a plugin manager so that we can change things like the theme, we can change the coloring of things, we can just include different packages or different plugins specifically for Tmux. And that's where TPM comes in for Tmux plugins. It's called Tmux Plugin Manager. Let's scroll down a little bit and look at how we would do this. We would git clone the GitHub repository. It will put it in a .tmux/plugins/tpm folder. We'll be able to bring it into the config file, just like it says here. Add this to that file. So let's grab this. Let's go ahead and exit out of this. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that in, let it run, and now we have it. If we do lsla, you see we have that new .tmux folder, and that's all good, which there's not really much in there, but this is just for plugins, which is just TPM. Let's go back out of that, and we'll open up our config file again. Now, if we head back to the documentation, we can just grab this file and we can bring it into that config file. That in, and I'm not using Sensible, so I can get rid of that. But we have our Tmux plugin up there, and this is just basically how we would set our other one. So we don't really need this. We can get rid of that, but we do need this down here. Let's go ahead and source this file again so that we can make sure that this is installed. So we'll save, exit out of that. We'll source that file. This needs to be Tmux source. And then we can do Control-A, Shift-I, and that'll make sure that already installed TPM, Tmux environment, reloaded, and then escape to continue. And now we're back here. So let's go back into our config file and continue on. Now, what I like to do is add a theme to Tmux so that it doesn't look as bland and we can have some cool little things in there. And I like to use this package here called Tmux Themepack. If we go down a bit, you can see we have very quick basic installation instruction here. We'll copy this for now, but I do want to go down a bit so that you can take a look and see what some of the themes are. And this is the default one that comes with it. And as you can see, the bottom of it has a little bit of a yellowish green here. This is basically what the theme looks like. And I, of course, like to make it a little bit different, but as you can see, there are different themes in here. It works out pretty well. And it seems to use Powerline as the colors for this theming. Let's go ahead and install this first, but let me make sure I'm up here so I can see it. And we'll just add this to the list of plugins. Now, something to note too is that this run Tmux plugins TPM, this should always be at the very bottom of whatever it is you put in here. Just make that a mental note as you're doing this. Paste it in here. Exit out of that. Save, quit, source. We should also do Control-A, Shift-I. Already installed, and as you can see, it's now installing the Tmux theme pack, and it has been reloaded. We can go ahead, press continue, or escape to continue. And as you can see, it's now a bit different where we have a time down here, a date, we have a name, and we just have some other things in here. So this is basically what the default looks like. Instead of using the default, I do like to change this up a bit. So we'll go back in. And then I'll just paste what I have here. And it's just Powerline block cyan. Keep forgetting that. I'm going to have to change that. Source it. And Control-A, Shift-I. So that's done. We don't have to worry about that. But now we can do Neovim. Let's detach. Let's reattach, which will be, I'm not really sure why it's doing that, but it's okay. So I want to do another key command. I'll say unbind R, and we want to bind the R to source the file. Tmux snippets are helping out here. Let's do that. And I will do tmux source.tmux.conf. So now if we do Control-A, R, that should do the same thing. We don't have anything to do there now, but let's exit out of this. And then Tmux ls, no server running. So we've killed everything. Let's start a new one, Tmux new, and we'll just call this one testing or new as testing. Get into a new one. And as you can see, now our colors are showing up, our little bit of a theme that we have going on here. All of that stuff is starting to come through in here, which is good. Let's go to Neovim, tmux.conf, and let's continue adding some things in here. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to add some more bindings, and basically what it's going to do is allow us to split the window in certain ways. I really want it to be kind of the same as with Vim motions or using the Vim commands. So I'm going to unbind the %, and then I'm going to unbind the open parentheses tag here. And then we're going to bind it to split window as H or V. I'll show you what that is in a little bit. That's just one thing. The other thing that I want to do is under this unbind R, I'm going to paste this in, but basically we are going to be able to resize the pane. We are going to be able to make sure that the mouse can work in a Tmux panel or pane. And that's something that, is pretty helpful. You don't have to do these, but these are just things that I find helpful. Then you can set the window option to VI mode, which is basically what I just said we were going to do. And then we have copy mode, copy and select, start selecting with V. So essentially the same things that are in Vim, we want to make sure are available to us in Tmux. I don't need this stuff here. So get rid of that. And the other thing to really pull this together is another package to help us deal with managing our window panes. I can close this. So let's go and take a look at that. Now, what I've been using for this is the Vim Tmux Navigator, and this allows us to navigate between the panes. This is something you can also include within your Neovim configuration to navigate within the panes as well. But as I said, typically I'm using Tmux when I'm doing this, so I don't really need to bring it into Neovim. But if we go down a bit, you can see different ways to install it. This is to install it in your Neovim configuration using Lazy. These are other snippets, which are pretty much the ones that we've already done. We've already set it up in our Tmux config file. But this is the line that I'm going to need here, which is the Vim Tmux Navigator. I'm going to copy that, and we don't need this run Tmux plugins because we've done that when we installed the Tmux plugin manager. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste it right there. And we'll do save, quit, and then we'll do Control A, Shift I, and that should install it. Very good. You should press enter, and let's go to our nvim tmux config. So we've pretty much set this up to split our windows in a way where this is going to be, when we use the pipe, it'll be a horizontal split. And then when we use the open quotations, it'll be a vertical split. In order to get that to work, what we can do is this. We can do Control A and then Shift pipe. And as you can see, it's opened up a new pane for us on the right hand side. Now we can actually navigate through these. We can do Control H and it'll navigate to the left pane. Control L. It's because I'm in my Neovim configuration and I also have the panel, the tree sitter, so it won't let me go back and forward on here like this. But if I do this, if I exit out of this, now I can go back and forth to those panes. I can even resize these a little bit. We'll do Control A, L, we'll resize that to the right. Control A, H will resize it back to the left, and you can do the same thing with here where you're resizing it like that. And then to do the vertical split, we can do Control A and then the minus sign, and now we have another one here. We can do another one here and open it up here. We can do another one here and open up another pane here, just like this. And so this makes it a really easy way to navigate through these. There's a whole bunch of information and documentation on Tmux and how to set this up. Let's go ahead and detach from here. Now let's go to our Laravel project. And first let's do Tmux new session. We'll call it Laravel. We'll open that up. And so now typically how I set this up is I can do Control A and C, and that'll open up another window for us. So if I do Control A and Control A, and then I can toggle between both of them. And if you wanted to, you can open up another one and have a third panel open, which is pretty cool. So we don't need this one. Typically what I like to do is do Control A and then horizontal split. This way on the left hand side I can do my PHP artisan. On my right side I can put npm run dev, and then I'll be able to access the project. Now we can also use the mouse to click these as well if that's something that you wanted to do. I do like to name these so I can remember which ones they are. So I'll do Control A, comma, and then I can rename this. And then I'll say that this is the project. Then I'll go to the next one, comma, and then I'll put servers here just so that I know that they are the servers. So here I can do PHP artisan serve, npm run dev. While that's running, go back to the other one, and then we can do Neovim. I'll just open it up here. Now, of course, because I took notes and didn't follow not one single one, I forgot to show you one other thing when it comes to Tmux, and I'm going to insert it here so that you guys have it. The video is a little bit more clear instead of just sticking it at the end. But there are two other plugins that I want to show you. One of them is Tmux Resurrect. And what this does is it allows you to persist the Tmux environment across system restarts. So when you turn off your computer, you turn it back on. This Resurrect will allow you to tap into whatever Tmux sessions that you have open without having to rebuild them like we did when we were setting up the Laravel one and the testing one. So this is a really cool package that allows you to do that. And we're going to install that. But one other thing that we can also use to complement that one is the Tmux Continuum. and the Tmux Continuum, what it allows you to do is if, for example, when we're in the session now and we detach and then we exit out of the terminal completely, we shut down all the terminals and we open them back up, then our Tmux will be lost and we'll have to rebuild them. So what this will allow you to do, it will restore it whenever that's started up again. This is something that works in congruence with the Resurrect to have a nice little safety measure in here. So if we come here, we should have some up here. Let's go to the testing one. Let's get rid of some of these. We can actually get rid of this one, but let's open up the Tmux config. In fact, before we do that, make an alias for it. Get out of that, and then let's source this. So we should have Tmux config as an alias, and we do, so let's just go ahead and use it. Okay, so let's go ahead and install these packages. We'll come down here, and I will add it under here. Save that, and these are just setting the global plugins. It's just bringing in those two plugins, which was the Resurrect and the Continuum. So now we can also do this in order to tell it what we wanted to do. It's just saying capture pane content. So when we have different panes open, those will be saved, and then the Continuum restore will be on. Let's exit out of here. And now we can do Control-A, Shift-I to make sure those are installed. And as you can see, it's installing it. It's installed one, let's install the other, press Enter, and now we should be good. Well, let's do this. Let's open up the Tmux config. Let's open up another window. Let's open up that. And why don't we also change the name of this to something? Control-A, detach. Now remember, we have Laravel testing and testing. Those are the two we've been using. I'm going to exit out of this, open it back up, and then we're going to see what happens. Now we can do Tmux ls, see what's here, and our Laravel and our testing is still here. If we attach, we still have both of our panels on this side with the name, and then we have our Tmux config on the other side. Now, if these are something that you want to do, typically I will just turn them off just because they can get a bit annoying depending on what you're doing. For this, here's a cool little trick. You can do Control-V to highlight the initial parts of these two right here, right at the beginning. You can do Shift-I. I want to do a hashtag, escape. Now, both of these lines have accepted that commenting out. And I can do the same thing for these two. Now both of them have it. And then we can do Control-A-R. And now that should pretty much just turn it off. And we are in our project. This is the one that we've been working on. I think we have a test page in here, test.view. And let's go and check the browser now. Here, as you can see, we have our Laravel project up and running. We can go to login. We can go to the other pages that we have set up. And if we make some changes in here, it will change in here as well. For example, the last time we were in here, we did a controller, but I think that I deleted the controller. That's absolutely fine. We have this test view down here, and then we can make a controller for it. What I'll do, instead of having to go back to this other window, I can open up Control-A, Shift-I, and now I have a terminal running in here that I can use, and I can do PHP artisan, make controller, and I'll call it test controller. And I don't really need to make it resourceful, but if I wanted to, I could. We'll do resourceful here. We don't have a model or anything to attach to it, but we'll go ahead, press enter. And as you can see, the test controller has been made, so I'll go ahead, exit out of here. And now it's in here. Now we have all the functions that we need that came along with it. And as you can see, we have some type errors and some saying that things are missing in here, but that's because we're not actually using any of these. Let's go ahead and do a view. Do inertia, we can import that. Or return render, inertia render. The component will just be test. You can get rid of these helpers in here. And so now that's good. So we'll save that. So we're still just missing the return type, which is fine. So now we can go to the routes and make that route. So let's say, do it here. So instead of this, now we can use our new controller, the test controller. We can import it, class, index, and we can also name it. Not that it matters, but test. We'll just call it test. That's fine. Save that. Okay, application is imported but never used. That's right, because we just deleted it. So let's remove it from here. These you can add or quiet them if you want to, but I typically will keep these here. Now that this is good, let's check the browser and see if we're seeing what's on our test view, which is nothing. We'll do hello world. And we don't actually need this props in here. Save it. And now if we head back to the browser, you can see we have hello world in here. That's pretty much it. We don't have an app name or anything because we don't have a layout file where we're pulling in the head. But that's fine. As you can see, we can now develop in this Windows environment. Now I just want to go over a couple of things that either I've learned recently or what have you, or just things that I want to update you on for this, or things that I just want to include for the benefit of your own knowledge. Is early on, I said that because I'm using WSL, when I use Control-V, actually, let's get out of this project. And let's detach altogether. We'll go to Neoconfig. We did our options, and I put in here that opt virtual edit block was supposed to be something that I could show you, but because I'm in VS Code, I can't really do it. So if I do Control-V, then it's going to paste in a bunch of stuff. As in Windows, that's what Control-V does. But something I have learned is if you are in Windows and you go to your settings and you go down to the open JSON file, which will open up in whatever the text editor is, mine is VS Code, and you come down to where it says paste here, right? This is a command for paste. We can actually change this to be something else. For Windows, pasting would be Control-V, but in Linux, it's typically Control-Shift-V. Since I'm moving to a Linux system at some point, I can already go ahead and just change this to Shift+V. So this way, even in Windows, I can practice using this key command, this shortcut, to paste. So we'll make sure that this is saved, even though it's autosave. We'll go back to this, and now if I do Control-V, it's no longer going to paste, it's going to actually tap into the Vim motion of accessing Visual Block. So this is what I was trying to show you. If you put it in Visual Block, that virtual edit block will allow us to do this so that we can keep the line and change the line or do whatever we're going to do within that block. Whereas in visual mode, it'll highlight like this, and then you'll have to go like that, and that's just a bit of a shortcut. This is something that I wanted to show you. Now that I've learned it, I've passed it on. That is one thing. The other thing is that, again, I'm in a WSL environment using Ubuntu. When I'm in the terminal, you see we have this space here. This typically only happens when I'm doing Neovim type stuff. Something that we can do also is in our JSON file, we can do a quick search. I'm going to type in the profile. I've got a couple of them here. Ubuntu 2404. I'm going to go to the one that I'm using for this particular series that we've been doing, which is this 2404-YT. And in here, I can create a new field, a new variable, And this one I can call padding. As you can see, it just auto-filled some stuff in here. But what we can do is, if you're used to using, let's say, margin or padding in CSS, it's the similar type thing where the first integer will be top and then it'll be right, bottom, left. For me, I need the right and the bottom to kind of be fixed. And here I can do -3. We'll see how this looks and see if it's something that we want to keep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and I'm just going to try it with zeros first, just to see how it looks. Make sure it's saved, which it should be auto-saving, but I'm paranoid. It took away a little bit, but you also see we have a little bit of a scroll here too. Let's try just one more little thing. So instead of this 0 here and this 0 here, I'm going to do -3. I keep doing escape. We'll save it there and see what that looks like. It's pretty much the same thing, but you can also tweak it and see how you like it and see how you can maneuver it to make it fill this up a bit more for yourselves. That's the second thing. The next quick tidbit that I can give you is that when you're learning the Vim key maps, a lot of times, for me, the keyboard that I use has a whole section, not only for the alphabetized keys, but another section for the number keys, just a standard keyboard that also has the up, down arrows, stuff like that. Some people say that you might want to disable them when you're using Vim motions in order to force yourself not to use them and instead to use the HJKL in order to maneuver around the page, the text, or whatever it is. It's not something that I'm comfortable doing at this time, but it is something that I want to tell you that you can actually do, which is to disable those arrow keys. And I found an article here that I'll put down in the description with the other links so that you can see just kind of different ways to do it. Just take a look or do a search in case this isn't updated enough. I just did a quick search and found this, where someone's saying you can use a plugin, but you can also just remap it. But I highly suggest, if that's something that you do, that's something that you research and see if that's something that you might want to do, is deactivate those arrow keys. Another thing that I wanted to show you is that you don't have to be constrained into setting up a whole Neovim environment, because if you're using VS Code has an extension that you can use, which will turn your VS Code into a Neovim configuration, and you can practice doing things. Now, I don't know how limited it is. I don't know how much of it is different, but now that I've shown you how to use Neovim, you have a better idea of how to get started with something like this, just to kind of use it in an environment that is more comfortable for you, more familiar to you, and see if that's something that you want to do first before actually going to the direct vanilla Neovim, so to speak. So that's something that you can do too, is check out that extension and see, just type in Neovim and it's the first one that came up, which is the VS Code Neovim. Now, as I mentioned at some point in this series, that we did an installation from scratch, and there are 2 projects that are set up and designed to make that startup way easier for you. Pretty much does the majority of it for you in setting you up. Now, the reason I didn't show you that was because I want you to know what it's doing, right? I want you to know how it works before you dive into any of these easier alternative solutions. Kickstart is one of those things, and Kickstart basically sets you up with the configuration, and it just comes in one file where you can kind of remove things as needed. So if you don't need specific things, then you can go ahead and remove it. And I believe it gives you some plugins as well. This is an option for you if it's something that you wanted to do. And you can also use the stable or the nightly version of Neovim, depending on how you want to set it up. These are the requirements to kind of get you going. And that's pretty much all I can tell you about that, because I haven't exactly used it. I have seen it and I've seen the file, and it's a lot of stuff in the file, but you can remove most of whatever it is. It has documentation on basically how to install that, and that's what Kickstart is. It's a good alternative if it's something that you wanted to just have set up really quickly, or if you want to just test it to see what other things you could do that I didn't do, what have you. The next one is LazyVim, and LazyVim is a lot more powerful. Like, it gives you Tokyo Night, it gives you all these other different things. There's just a lot going on in here. But here's a video, Elijah Manor. I've seen a couple of his videos before where he deep dives into this LazyVim setup, so you can go and check that out and see how to install this package and how to set it up to build a Neovim configuration for you, build a whole thing for you. But there's a lot of stuff going on in here. I would highly check out this documentation, and these 2 I'll also put down in the description so that you guys can go to it and see if it's something that you're interested in. be leaving some other links in the description. One is how to set up WSL for Laravel, or for how I would do it in WSL. And I go through a whole series on how to do it. The only difference from that series that I'm doing differently now is that I'm keeping it on the drive that has the Windows installation included, because I noticed there was some lagging and there were some other things up with that when I moved it to a different drive, and just adding it to the drive that has the Windows installation just makes things a lot easier and a lot smoother for me to be able to use, but everything else is pretty much the same. The other thing I wanted to let you know too is that I have a deployment guide, and I'll leave a link to this down in the description too, which is another small series that I did on deploying a Laravel project on an Ubuntu server. This is a lot of where I got the commands to set up things like the MySQL server and stuff like that. I did that in the deployment videos, but how I set up PHP, stuff like that. It was really kind of helpful when we were setting up this environment to be able to set up Neovim to work with these different things. But this is something that you can also check out if you want to. I'll leave this link down in the description as well, and you can take a look. As I said early on, I will continue to use VS Code for these videos. I'll continue to be using Laravel Sail throughout until I officially move completely over to Linux. I'm going to keep it this way because I know a lot of people, they're more familiar with looking at VS Code than, let's say, with Neovim. But when I do switch eventually, I will be using Neovim in these videos on top of Laravel, Sail, and Docker, just so that you guys can have the most updated stuff. I know there were some questions about that, and it's not that I'm leaving Laravel Sail, I'm just trying to leave VS Code. I'm trying to leave most of what I can from Microsoft products out of my purview, and it's going to take some time, but it is something that I have been working towards. The last bit of documentation that I want to show you is in my personal repo. This is the repo that I've been adding it to every video. It's included with every video that we've done from this series. It's basically showing you my .files, and my .files have my entire configuration. If you go to the NVim folder, you can see all of the different packages that I have, all of the different plugins, everything that I have set up. I've been updating it with things that I've decided to use. If it's something that you want to take a look at and see more of what I have going on, then this is a good resource to do that, as well as keeping updated with how I'm interacting with it. I also have included this sort of a guide, I guess, on how to set this up using my .files and how to install them, to set up Neovim, rip grep, nerdfont, all that type stuff, and really just to kind of get it up and going quickly with my configuration. So that's something that I've also been including on the videos, and it's in the description for you guys so you guys can take a look. Let's go and see what my configuration actually looks like. What I have done now is I have gone into my own personal Ubuntu WSL installation, what have you, but this is the one I use for developing. It has my entire Neo config information in this. Everything that you saw in the .files is in here, and I want you to be able to see the full potential of how I work. As you can see, we have Tailwind included. We have the syntax highlighting for our view files. We have some little brackets type thing. It was pretty quick. As you can see, it's done. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, if we go to a app.blade.php or any Blade file, there's not really any syntax highlighting because, well, Laravel Blade files, that's still becoming a new thing within the Neovim community, but it is in fact something that people are working on. I have come across this GitHub repo where it looks like someone has been setting up Neovim tree sitter to bring more syntax highlighting and stuff like that for specifically Blade files to the community. And it looks like it's something that they have been working on, and they're working on it pretty recently, which is pretty good. Now, I'm kind of excited about this. I have to take a look at it a bit more in order to really see how it works and how to integrate it. If it's something that I think I want to use, then I will update my Dotfiles to include this. I think this is a pretty cool little package to kind of test out. They don't really have anything set up for Lazy just yet, really for Vimplug and some other things, but I do think it is worth taking a look because it looks like something that we can use as Laravel developers for sure. As far as Vue's pretty much got it down, right? Because that's more of a broader audience. But as you can see, there's syntax highlighting in here with some other things. And it looks like there's a fold in there too, which is pretty cool. I don't know. I will definitely check it out and see what it's about at a later date. But for now, this is a pretty good setup. Now, as I said before, this is just a replacement for VS Code. As I move further away from Microsoft, I am looking to more tools that are less Microsoft involved, and I'm even actually considering moving from GitHub. Don't know yet. There are no official plans for that, but I think this is a cool little setup for you guys, and I've given you all of the documentation down below, so I think that's going to be it for me today. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button as it really does help out the channel. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and here's a playlist to follow along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.